You blew yourself up, lady. I still love your outfits. Oh god! It's your main boy Kiku, and today we're going back to a time where every game needed to have a 3D model and needed to reference a time gone by. And while some games were able to tackle this extremely well, this game did struggle just a tiny bit. Today's game is none other than WayForward's game Double Dragon Neon. The plot revolves around the classic characters Billy Lee and Jimmy Lee, the martial art twins known as the Double Dragons. The game starts with the abduction of their, friend Marion by the main baddie of the series, Skullmageddon. In order to rescue Marion and put an end to Skullmageddon's evil plans, Billy and Jimmy embark on an action-packed journey through various urban environments, battling hordes of enemies and formidable bosses. And so the Double Dragons go out to rescue Marion and put an end to Skullmageddon's evil plans. The aesthetics of Double Dragon Neon are heavily influenced by the 1980s, embracing this retro vibe reminiscent of that era.
I mean, the game is based off of from like 1980 something.
That's fair. Featuring a colorful and vibrant visual style with a mix of hand-drawn art and pixel art elements, the game uses a quasi 2.5D graphics combining traditional 2D character sprites. Wow, this game looks very 3D. And backgrounds with 3D elements to give the environments a sense of depth and dimension. Yo! Okay. What the heck? What is this? And while at times looks great, it admittedly doesn't really age all that well. To be fair, he looks different in 3D. Oftentimes it looks a bit jarring and disorganized, and definitely not in a good way. And perhaps due to it being the first game in the series to try this look out, the game feels sluggish with its 3D animations. It doesn't feel fast. Like even when you run, there's like a second wind up to a run. That being said though, WayForward did aim to create an homage to the classic beat 'em up games of the 80s while infusing the modern touch, and judging it just from that, it does it quite well. As the title suggests, the neon colors play a pronounced role in the game's visual design, with bright and vibrant colors in hues of pink, green, blue, and purple. They're pronounced throughout the entire environments, through characters, and even through special effects. And this creates an eye-catching and kind of nostalgic look. It's just a tubular version of Mega Man. It feels like the 2000s parodying the 1980s, and it does it pretty well. Did this guy just dab before dabbing was a thing? And like the action movies during that time, it leans into the ridiculousness of the golden age of action movies, as the bosses also give the same sort of extreme vibes. What the f is this? The game is filled to the brim with 80s pop culture references, from the environments to even the animations to revive someone. Help, dude, I'm down, dude! But as one progresses through the game, the allure of the 80s starts becoming stale, and when the dust finally settles, you begin to realize it's less using it as a parody and homage, but rather as a crutch to hold its game up. So unless you're a boomer like Pix and yearn for the days of the big hair, neon lights, and hope, it unfortunately falls a bit short. Double Dragon Neon is a modern reboot of, well, naturally, the Double Dragons. This is a really old game. And in keeping with the classics, it's a beat 'em up, meaning you go through the game beating up random enemies as they come to the screen.
Oh boy.
You control either Billy or Jimmy Lee, fighting through horrors using your basic punching, kicking,
That's broke.
and special attacks. We're max! But in this iteration, there's an additional RPG-esque mechanic. Increases stats with a focus on attack, so I lose HP in defense, but I gain attack. Game. You already knew what kind of person I am. Alright. Playing into the mixtape aesthetics of the 80s, players can find and equip various mixtapes during their gameplay. Each mixtape provides a unique bonus, such as improved defense, stronger attacks, or even enhanced abilities. Oh my god, look how much that increases your magic. Yeah, I'm not using that though. The mixtapes add an additional element of strategy, as players can tailor their loadouts to suit their playstyle or adapt to specific challenges. Fine, I'm invincible while I'm doing this. These mixtapes can be bought using cassette tapes that are dropped by enemies, which then encourages the players to beat up every enemy they see. Hey lady, I'm gonna shank you, shank. And at face value, that's a pretty welcoming proposition. You blew yourself up, lady. I still love your outfits. Oh god! But the bane of this game is the difficulty that is created harder by the unfortunate side effect of its transition of its aesthetics, because the movements feel slow and kind of look slow.
But it takes a second for you to dodge. It's not an instant dodge.
And the sluggish feeling is exacerbated, with the game sometimes requiring fast inputs that the game is just not prepared to give the player.
What's the point of a dodge if you can get hit in the dodge?
Many times I found myself getting frustrated that the control of Billy or Jimmy was a lot slower than I would think.
I find there's like a small input delay to let the models like move.
Even running is painfully slow. I mean, just look at this.
You can also roll.
I am not by any means a person that plays a lot of beat 'em ups, and I will admit that my breadth of knowledge when it comes to this genre is fairly limited compared to Pix.
Oh my god, we have to fight him again?
Oh yeah, he just becomes a normal enemy. I mean, that's always how Bobo's kind of worked.
But I think I understand good game design at its rudimentary sense, or at least enough to recognize when something feels very off.
It's something, like, it's not that it's bad. It just doesn't feel good.
Yeah, these controls are a little weird.
That being said though, the game does have its incredible moments, and does a good job masking some of its deficiencies with its boss battles and humor.
Oh boy, this is fun, but like, the controls are still very stiff.
Unfortunately, these moments are few and far in between, and the time between those was admittedly a struggle.
Quick interruption. I noticed that only 12% of you are actually subscribed to this channel. Watching this long, I must be doing something right, so if you like this video, hit that like button and please subscribe to this channel. Any support helps and these videos take a bit long to make. Thank you so much, and back to the video.
Double Dragon Neon can be bought for PC through Steam for $10, and it can also be bought for Nintendo Switch for $15. On How Long to Beat, and for myself and Pix, we clocked in at around a time of 3.5 hours. Taking the lowest market price of $10 and dividing it by the average player time of 3.5 hours, and get a price-to-hour ratio of about $2.80, lower than the $5 per hour I give to games $25 and below. And basically this means that if one were to purely look at the value purchase, the game has more than enough content to satisfy the purchase price. But as usual, let's remove the value ratio and look at the game for what it really is. This is a game of extremes. While the highs are very high,
Oh god, he tapped on me! Oh god, no!
the lows are very low. And while it was a rather quick game and doesn't really waste a person's time, the combination of its gags, goofs, and gimmicks does get pretty old by the end.
Full HP, let's go! Cheese the game! We are cheesing the game for all it's worth.
That being said, however, it is saved by one of the best end fights I've played with Pix to date.
Oh, you're getting juggled! Oh no! No, buddy!
Funny, difficult, and memorable, it does a great enough job to almost save the game.
Get him, get him, get him, get him, get him! Yeah, let's go, let's go, let's go! Woo! He's stun locked!
And I say almost because, unfortunately, by the end, the parodic 80s, sluggish controls, and repetitive enemies was really starting to grate.
I mean, what else would you do, right?
And so, while the value is here, it just felt like padding with a different skin.
Yeah, just sit back and watch, boss. Thank you for being so polite.
So, do I think it's worth it? Unless you're starved for some beat-em-up content or have a massive nostalgia craving that you're looking at games like this, I don't think so. Sluggish, repetitive, and annoying. These are not things that a game should tie itself to.
The box is weird enough. You have to be like a little lower than where you think it is.
And unfortunately, Double Dragon's Neon is kind of all of those three.
Throw it! Throw it! Throw it!
Admittedly, there could be some personal bias as I never really cared for the Double Dragons of old, so I don't have the same nostalgia goggles others may have.
Oh, snap.
You remember this guy, right?
No.
Well, it's like the third time we've beaten him up.
But I do see the game for what it is, and what I see is that it's a bit, well, largely a disappointment.
Expensive experiment, giant thing.
That being said, the moments of the game where it feels good is definitely the boss battles.
Oh, God!
It's just a shame that the lulls of the game just last a bit too long. So with all that being said, my rating for Double Dragon's Neon is that you should play this game eventually. There are plenty of beat-em-ups out there, so you could come back to this one at a later time.
Now, if only they had gotten Aloe Opener to voice this guy.
Planned and the biker caught unaware.